So good morning, everybody, again. This is actually our first webinar. So as you can see, there can always be some surprise. This webinar is organized by Guiding Group. And so let's start. What are we going to talk about today? I'm going to explain you a little bit more who we are, who Guiding Group is. Then we are going to talk about the tourism industry. What were the global trends and transformations during the past years? Then we will have a lovely panel discussion with our hosts, and we will in particular talk about, will there be a substantive and irreversible industry shift, when we will have arrived at the new normal, and how can technology pave the way to the future. And at the end, there will be a time for questions and answers for all of you. So who is going to host the webinar? It will be myself. Nice to meet you. I work for Guiding Group since 2 years, and I'm the market development manager of this company. I'm from Italy, but I have lived in several places. And Ulrich Berger, that it's the founder of Guiding Group, and would like to also give you a warm welcome before we start this webinar. Ulrich, back to you.
So, hello everybody out there. Everywhere on the globe, as we have seen. I need to accept my camera, I guess.
Yeah.
So now you can maybe even see me, hopefully. So once again, we are really excited having you here outside in the world, everywhere, and inside the web. Yeah. I'm actually here in Switzerland in my mountain home. It's snowy and a bit cold, but nevertheless, a very warm welcome again. I feel compassionate about the situation we are all in right now at the end of this 2020 year. And I think many of us are most likely really afraid about the future because the future is uncertain. And feeling afraid of the pressure from the government restrictions to fight against this natural virus, or being afraid of getting sick, ill, seriously. And I honestly think that most of us are maybe also quite tired about participating on online webinars like even this today, instead of meeting in real and meet friends and talk as a human from human to human. So having said this even more, thank you very, very much for participating today. We appreciate to be connected with you in our webinar. And we hope we can give us all a little help to see the future a bit clearer during the next hour. So, Francesca, please guide us through the webinar.
Thank you, Ulrich. Maybe can you try to activate your camera, because we didn't have the pleasure to see you actually.
Oh, well, then
There you go.
Hi, everybody. So, sorry for this. Now we can see each other. At least you can see me. So once again, I now have to give back to Francesca. And it's great having you all here. Just see how this works. Trainers. Francesca, can you continue?
I can. I will revoke your session control myself. I can do it, so
Perfect.
Don't worry. All right, here we go. Back to me. So as I already mentioned, it's our first webinar. So if you see some problems, it's because it's our first time. So, but let's dive deep into this this webinar. So, Guiding Group. Guiding what? The Guiding Group is a group of companies, its own with its own expertise. But there is one goal that all our companies have, and is the goal to help you create a fully immersive experience for your guests through cutting edge and easy to use technology. Our company is also committed to the industry, being part of different associations from different regions of the world. For example, BCSD from Germany, the European Tourism Association of ETOA, or we are also members of CLIA. So we are members of the International Association for the Cruise Industry. I would like to start this webinar engaging a little bit with our audience. And so I will start the first poll and ask you a question. What are the core services and characteristics that you cherish the most in a supplier? And I will launch our poll. All right. So you can vote between cost effectiveness, efficiency, support and assistance, growing opportunities. This means that you choose a supplier according to the growing opportunities that the supplier and choosing him it will give to you. So people are voting. We will just wait a bit more. Efficiency, support and assistance right now seems to be the most important one. You still can vote. You have still a few seconds. Efficiency, support, and assistance are constantly going back and forth. All right, just a few people missing. Okay. Wow, we have a 43% and I'm going to show you the results so everyone can see. We have 43% efficiency and 43% support and assistance. So I can see from your answers that it's definitely more important is that a company supports you and assists you and is efficient. So it's not so important apparently the cost effectiveness.
We can't see the slides.
You can't really.
No,
Ah.
at least I can't.
Maybe the audience. Let's ask to the audience. Could you see the yes, they could. No, somebody yes, somebody no. That's interesting. But most of you could. That's great. Okay, let's move on. So, actually, I'm very happy to see that the result of the poll was efficiency and support because our core values are exactly those. What guiding groups stand for, what are our core values. For sure, we want to be open-hearted. We want to stay connected. We have a multicultural team. We have a flat hierarchy. We want to be flexible and at the same time innovative. For us, the most important thing with is to create a relationship with our customers, with our partners that is based on mutual benefit, trust, and long-term partnerships. So we want to give you a service that is efficient and professional, but it's like being in a family, let's say. Actually, Ulrich will talk more about this later. Now, I would like to very briefly analyze our industry, the industry where everybody in this session works, the tourism industry. What were the global trends during the past years and the transformations that we went through? According to Tifeli, tourism is the most visible expression of globalization. It is true that during the past years, people are traveling faster, further, and for cheaper money. That's for sure true because of the e-tourism growth. Now people can easily book online, can easily organize a trip, that it's business or leisure online. This has, of course, created some limits and threat to the expansion of tourism. And this all changed when COVID-19 appeared at the beginning of this year, and this had already had repercussions on our industry, but we don't know how much we'll have also in the future. So that's what we want to talk about in this webinar and what we want to analyze with our panelists. Very briefly, because unfortunately we all know what happened in January 5th, 2020. The health organization declared that there was a new virus spreading from China and that could be potentially riskful for the world. On January 30th, it confirmed this virus that then had a first wave across the world during March, then slowed down a little bit during the summer, and then a second wave came in September and October. But what is going to happen in 2021? This is the real question. According to Newandowski, the tourism industry as we knew it just months ago has ceased to exist. So this webinar will have a discussion between panelists based on this main question. How will the tourism industry look like in a post-pandemic world? That's what I think everybody we are interested in understanding and trying to foresee. So a huge welcome to our two panelists of today, Sebastian Frankenberger, CEO and former German politician engaged with travel guiding in Austria, Germany, and Czech Republic. Sebastian, hello.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. And Lucas Sandmeyer, General Manager Operations Scenic Tours Europe. Hi, Lucas.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for
Welcome.
everybody.
Welcome, a very warm welcome. So, the first question that I would like to introduce into this panel is, will there be a substantive and irreversible industry shift? But before addressing this question to Sebastian, I would like to show you some graphs, some researches that we found that, in this case, for example, as you can see, BCG is the source. And we want to understand how did the crisis affect the travel behavior of people in the world. Well, as you can see, there are differences according to the age of the people that were interviewed. In particular, the baby boomers population is concerned about catching the virus, so is more concerned about the health, while the younger generations are more worried about their finances. So they're worried about not having enough money to be able to travel instead of being worried about health. What do you think about, Sebastian? Do you think it's what is going on in your experience?
For me, there is a new question when we talk about the future. What I realize now in Europe is we have this situation of a lot of people think that we have no coronavirus or there is no coronavirus, have problems with the politicians, and oh yeah, now it's
So we
better.
can
So
see you.
yeah, now it's much better. And when we talk about the scene and all what's coming, and I think there is a lot of which we cannot expect what the future will be. Will the vaccine works in 2021? Will there be a fast restart or a quick restart, or will it be like half of the people have taken the vaccine, the other ones are fighting? So that can be a big problem. And what I realize here, it has to be, it's not about ages. It's not that the elder ones won't do that and the younger ones. It's completely in Europe mixed
Mhm.
in the in the population. Completely different is it in other markets in Asia. That's normal for them.
Yeah.
In China, I think they want to travel very quick. They have not lost so much money. Completely different is it in what happened in America. And when will the crisis stop there? So for me, I think the people, they all want to travel. And that's what last summer I did a lot of bike tours. We had a lot of locals from Austria and from Germany. We had no river cruises, we had no city tourism, but we had a lot of nature tourism, biking, hiking. But this generation, especially the baby boomers, they have enough money. They didn't lost money during the pandemic. They want to travel. They want to go out. The question is, will they use the vaccine? Will the politicians, will they allow us to have tourism again? Or in what kind of tourism will they allow? Smaller groups, or only outside? That are for me the questions we can't answer today, because we don't know what really will happen.
Sure. Sure, absolutely. And thank you, because even if we look at 1 second at this graph, it confirms what you just said. So BCG conducted a survey between people, and he asked he offered some categories of what people are missing most. No, for example, leisure travel, restaurant dining, cosmetics, accessories, and most of the people actually answered that they miss leisure travel the most. 60% and 69% can't wait to start traveling again. So exactly what you just said. People, it seemed to be in the perspective of everybody to really are willing to travel again. Now, Lucas, what do you think is the same? Do you have the same opinion? I will transfer the control to you so we can see you. Do you also think that people are really, really, really willing to travel again?
Well, it's the 1 million question, Francesca. And yes, I believe people are willing to travel. What I also believe is here. What I also believe that the age of completely barrier-free travel is, if not gone, at least is halted for some time. Because travel is not only the willingness of people to travel, but is also the possibility to travel, or the capacities around for traveling. And as was said before, will people be allowed to travel? So I think there will be much more barriers. I think people still want to travel. The desire to travel, the desire to explore, the desire to meet new people, to meet new cultures, that will not be gone. I think that will not be gone virtually, that you cannot replace that virtually. So you have to experience that. But the question is, how can it be done? And there we probably see a change that will be here for a longer period of time, I believe. Yeah. I can tell from the markets that we work with, from the US, Canada, Australia, we work in the Anglo-Saxon market. So our clients are coming from the Anglo-Saxon market and travel around the world. And obviously it's very difficult because the Australians, they have been imprisoned pretty much in their own country, so they cannot travel. They were not even able to travel between states in Australia, so that's just now starting to ease. So they create like a bubble, first within the state, then maybe interstate, and possibly with New Zealand and some South Sea islands where they think it's safe. So that is very critical. In America, we all know the situation. Actually, the Americans would be allowed to travel to Europe, but we don't let them in. But it's reciprocal. So if a European wants to go to America, they don't let them in. So it's more a political decision here that I think as soon as one indicates that it's okay. We're gonna lift these limitations. Then the other ones will lift it as well, because obviously, yeah, it's reciprocal. Asia, I'm connected privately, and it's been difficult to travel to Asia from other places than within Asia, or to travel to Europe from Asia. That has also seen quite a significant decrease. So yeah, let's see. There will be interesting times ahead. I'm sure we will work with it and we will find a way, but there are a lot of uncertainties.
For sure, that's the only certain thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I will get back to me, because now I would like to yeah, just 1 second. Okay, here we go. So I can see also from the chat that we already have wow, a lot of comments. I will read those, but before, I would like to get on with the second poll. So I would like to basically ask you the same question our panelists just answered and discussed about. So, in your opinion, so far, which were the most common concerns that your customers had experienced so far during their travel decision-making process? And I will start the poll. You can choose between safety, so the risk to contract COVID, help and support, and loss of money. You can vote now. All right, safety seems to be by far the most common concerns that your customers have experienced so far. 82%, help and support 8%, loss of money 12%. Okay, yeah, definitely safety. So the risk to contract COVID has been the most voted thing. I will just read some of your comments, like Florian. I think they will travel even more, as they have now seen that traveling may not have to be possible as it used to be. I totally agree with you, Florian. Mariangela, as regards Americans, travel to Italy, we just started a COVID-free travel, I think from today in Fiumicino Airport. That's very interesting, actually. Mariangela, if you want to explain us a little bit more, at least I will be very interested in knowing more. Jason, the world is fed up of being virtual for so long, otherwise we will end up in an episode of Upload. That's really true. So Mariangela, the passengers test before leaving USA and they repeat the test upon arrival. Sure. Yeah. All right. Okay. What also is important for sure is to reassure our customers, in our opinion. So based, for example, on PwC, consumers are seeking trusted sources more and more, as we can see here, for example. They are looking for confirmation by Centers for Disease Control, state government, and other health organizations. In fact, what we have found out interestingly is that the trust in brands was positive until June 2020, but then it fell down -4% in August, and in September it slightly recovered 2%. But in general, I think that brands will need to be aware of the theater of cleaning, that they will need to be aware that clear communication of the measures they are taking in order to build trust and confidence is probably the key factor to gain confidence from the customers and to let them travel, because as we just saw, people apparently definitely want to travel. They really want to go out. They don't they don't want the virtual reality, or they don't want to find any alternative way to travel. They really want to get out in the real world. So what we can do to help them? For sure, we need to be clear, and we need to create trust in our audience, in our clientele. So let's discuss a little bit. Sebastian or Lucas, tell me who wants to answer this question. But what can be exactly a way to reassure our your clients to get out in the real world and to travel? For example, here BCG suggests some aspects that would be um, essential for the resume of tourism. Sebastian, for example, what do you think? Do you want to comment on that?
I think that we don't really have to do anything. The people will come again, definitely. And there will be more travel than 2019. We will have a fantastic situation. The only question is when. When will Corona be? When will the pandemic really be over? So the question is, what can we do in 2021 when we have that some are allowed to travel, some are not allowed to travel? The next year is the biggest chance for us to to show that our brand is special, that we follow all the safety rules, that we have smaller groups. Perhaps that can help us also for the future, because I think when the pandemic is over, we will come back to exactly the situation that we had before Corona. Even that we have more travel, that we will talk more about over tourism again, because more people will travel. But we should use this next year to fulfill all our goals that we had before. Like the most important for us was smaller groups, more individual tourism, less mass tourism.
Sure. Lucas, would you like to share with us if, for example, Scenic is using any, I'm sure you are planning for some safety protocols or some measures in particular that you think will help people getting back to the travel?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm
trying to turn on the camera. Okay, here we go. Yes, okay. For those that may not be familiar with our company, we are mainly active as a cruise company, in particular river cruising in Europe, but also in Southeast Asia, as well as we have one ship on the ocean. Now, obviously, here we have a little different situation, as Sebastian said, because we have a lot of people on one in a close location, up to 200, up to 160 on a river cruise ship. And yes, we obviously, I think important is for the time being to be very transparent to your guests and to communicate well what you're doing. Especially in terms of precautionary measures that you take, like social distancing, temperature measuring, and so on. The landscape is changing every day. So, the airlines are talking about making mandatory tests or having people mandatory vaccinated. So depending on what, this is not only something that a company for itself does. So depending what happens around you, that also determines a little bit the measures that you do. What I agree with Sebastian is that over time, people will regain confidence to travel, but we have to train them to regain confidence. They are very unsure, also partly because of the multitude of information that they receive from all sides, social media, governments, all sides, the regular media, and they really don't know how to orientate themselves. So they look at companies to give them a little guidance, to give them reassurance, and ultimately we will learn to live it. I think the best, and here is about vaccination. The best thing about the vaccination is not the vaccination itself. Of course, that's a very good tool too, provided that a lot of people have it. But the best thing about it is that the governments may be able to shift back responsibility of a personal health to an individual rather than being responsible for an entire country and for the health of a country. So I think this is much more, so this vaccination is first a physical help for everybody that gets it, but it's also a psychological help for governments, I think. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So actually, we have an interesting question from Mariangela. I would like to. It's a question for Sebastian. So it might be when you were talking about the guides. Yeah. Mariangela is asking, but what about all the illegal guiding, Sebastian? I will pass the control to you.
For me, illegal. So let's.
How can we control? I guess Mariangela was asking, how can we deal with them? How can we control them?
For me, I do completely not concentrate on illegal guiding, because we will always have illegal guiding. And you lose so much energy when you focus on that. It's better to think about what we can do, or the official guide association, to show the people that we are the brand in which they should trust. And that's exactly what I mentioned before. The next year is the big chance for us all to say, all our guides are vaccinated, all our guides follow hygienic protocols. And so we can build a brand in the next year. Because I think I'm a little bit with Lucas. It's different if you talk about international guests, because there you have to follow a lot of more policies and protocols, and to get trust back, instead of the locals. And the locals, they want to go out, they want to travel, they don't care about all that. That's what we are realizing in Austria and Germany, and all the bus companies I'm working with, they don't care. But when we as guides come to them and say, we follow all the protocols, we use modern technologies like the smart iTour smartphones from your company or something. That's something where we can show we are state of the art. We are professionals. I think we have to show them that we are professionals, that everywhere we show, we know what's going on, also in the whole pandemic hygienic situation.
All right. Thank you very much. Then we have a question for Lucas. I'm trying to find it again. Yes. Frank is asking Lucas if you think that vaccination will be compulsory for ocean or river cruise guests.
Yeah, a very good question, Frank. I think this is goes much into legal question. We obviously, we are part of the cruise association like CLIA, but there is something similar for European river cruises, which is called IGRC, and we are in close contact with the European Union to find through the various organizations, CLIA and IGRC, first to establish protocols, and second to find out what the European Union is doing in terms of vaccination. And they have raised the question if it's even legal to, if the European if in the European Union you can even ask people to get vaccinated and make it compulsory. So this is more a legal question. I I don't know. I don't think it becomes mandatory. Although I don't see why it couldn't, because there was the international vaccination booklet, a yellow booklet from the WHO, which has been since the 50s. And when I wanted to travel to Africa personally or somewhere in Southeast Asia, I had to provide proof that I had a vaccination against yellow fever, for example. And I do not see what the difference is between a COVID and a yellow fever or any other sickness for that matter. So I can't answer your question, Frank. I think it may be. What I think for sure is guests that want to travel either have to provide proof of a vaccination or proof of a negative test 24 or 48 hours prior to embarkation on board a ship. And then the ship protocols, they are clear. Then we test on a daily basis, temperature measuring, cabins to isolate guests if it happens. The thing is, if you have a case on board, then the control is again out of the operator, actually. So it goes back to governments, because they then pretty much say what's going to happen. As long as you're in the ocean and you're not anywhere, that's fine. But as soon as you need to go in a harbor, in port, there may be difficulties that you'll be able to go to port. River cruising is completely different, because you're always you're never offshore. You're always moving in a country. So, but again, also there, if you have a case on board, obviously you have to report those, and then the authorities take control of the situation, and they just tell you what you have to do. But to answer your question, I think yes, probably we will ask for either having proof of vaccination or proof of negative test.
Yeah, Alina is asking again something similar. So, will you be introducing on the spot quick COVID test before embarkation? Will it be a solution for you for Scenic?
Yes, unlike ocean cruise ship, river cruise ship usually don't have a doctors. Now, Scenic and the company Scenic is managing has decided to put a doctor on. For two matters. First of all, we have a demographic that always requires a doctor on board the ship, even before COVID. And second, it's one of these steps to reassure the guests that we do the right things. And yes, we are wanting to do a quick test, but these tests also, at the beginning, they took like 2 days. Now we are maybe down to 5 minutes, and we have to see which one is the best. The decision on what is being used is not made yet. And obviously, the season starts in March, hopefully, but unlikely. So until then, there are new developments, and we have to go. But we plan to have tests on board, yes.
Lucas, one question from me. What do you think about the supplier, the bus drivers, the guides? Do they need tests of vaccination?
This is also a very good question. I think we will have to ask our suppliers that they run the same protocols that we run for our staff. So obviously we have staff on board the ship, and we test them on a regular basis, and we test them before the season starts, and then on a regular basis. And we also immediately quarantine them if there are symptoms, or if there could be symptoms, and we will ask suppliers to do similar. Now, for a bus company, this may be easier because they are more in control of their drivers. Freelance guides This we have to discuss with the organizations, yeah. But I think it would probably be good for them within an organization to be prepared this way, so that they say, okay, we do this on a voluntary basis, not necessarily vaccination, but at least that we know, because once the season starts, that is certainly a reassurance that we need, because the ship as such can be controlled quite well. What cannot be controlled is when guests go on an excursion. That is very difficult to control. Yeah, and there we should do the best we can do, meaning that we have disinfection on the buses, that we disinfect the handrails of the buses on a regular basis, that we clean these things, but also the staff. We also have to think simple things. Don't pass the mobile phone to anybody to use it. Simple things. So we have set up a set of rules or a set of regulations that we give to our suppliers, which we distributed before the first wave. Then obviously everything was cancelled and we didn't bother to update it, but we will update it before we travel, before the operation restarts.
All right, thank you, Lucas. We are receiving a lot of questions, but I will move on and get back to those questions. Don't worry, at the end of the session. So I will get back. All right. So as we saw, we talked so far about what are, let's say, the key factors that could help our customers to get back to travel. But another interesting fact, I think, after this pandemic arise, is that also other behaviors, new behaviors, occurred during the past months. And one, for example, is the increase in remote and digital interactions. And I think this could be helpful, actually, to another helpful hint for the cruise industry, for the guide industry, for the tour operators industry, to use this new way to be able and be used to use technology to actually help them to get back safely and to travel more. There were also other new behaviors like new forms of tourism, promotion of local areas, and fights for social inclusivity. So the next question is, when will we have arrived at a new normal? According to McKinsey and Company, probably, at least in the US, we will go back to normal not before Q3 or Q4 of 2021. Lucas, Sebastian, what do you think? Do we agree in the timeline? What do you think about Europe?
For tourism, I think we won't go back to a new normal until 2022. But obviously in 2021, we will practice the new normal. The volumes we expect to see coming back for international, for our markets, be coming back in June, July, but also at the lower extent to what we had in previous years. And then hopefully in 2022, confidence is up again and people will start traveling.
Sebastian?
I think the same. It will be 2021 will still be a year where we have more tourism from the locals. We will have not so much city tourism, but we will have more bike tourism,
Mm-hmm.
more nature activities, and the real international tourism we will have back 2022.
Mm-hmm. So basically, you more or less agree on with
Yeah.
this research. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think you cannot see the next slide, right?
We had seen it. Now,
Yeah.
I cannot, but no problem. So going back on what I was saying, so also the 2020 brought a new accessibility to use technology, to use remote devices, also for example for those people that are not so young. So the question is, how can technology pave the way to the future? This digital development that we experienced, for sure can help people be more used to use technology, and can help also the tourism industry to use technology to survive to the crisis and to this pandemic. So I would like actually to ask to Urish an opinion. What can we do to thrive in a post-pandemic world? Which role technology will have, in your opinion?
Yes, thank you, Francesca. Of course, it's only one opinion, but technology, as we have seen already in the pandemic, was huge important to stay connected, like now with this platform in Soho shows. And I will share my camera, yeah. And the same will be more as we all, for example, now know Zoom. So I think this technology part will continue to be used more. So it took 20, 30 years that everybody uses a telephone. And now it took only 1 year that maybe everybody knows how to use Zoom. So this is one part to be connected, at least seeing the face and let's say in the digital, in a 2D world. But from a perspective of tourism, there I would like to go a bit faster through our next slide we had prepared, because it's already 12 o'clock.
Yeah, no.
So also from the PVC studies, it's clear that remote interaction is necessary. I mean, this has to happen, and it is already a lot happening, but more on the operational side of the tourism industry partners selling tours and cruises, and less on the user side. So I think it will rise more conveniency on the user side, on the traveler side. And of course, digitalization and automation it's just normal. And I think COVID is rushing us into more technology use. And of course, we have to deal with it. So it means we have to learn it, even if we hate it or if we don't really like it, but we have to use it because sometimes there is no other access anymore. So it's already done in the bank world, let's say. But now we will see what the tourism world will bring. And I will also soon give a little show about our product, really just a little, that you see what we have done on that side. And as you maybe know, there is the idea and vision of having virtual reality tours, which is of course a topic for the future. But as there are some suppliers, we already started to have some tests, and it's clear that the people love to be at the spot in real. So we don't think that the virtual reality tours will replace the real tourism. So it's much more in tourism than just seeing the city sites with the eyes. So this is something which can add a lot. So we can also use technology to make nice tours. And I also talked with Lucas, I remember we can, for example, if there's a tour in a city and some of the guests on the ship are maybe don't want to walk today or don't feel good, then they still could listen to the guide while his friend or friends are in the city and listen to the guide live. So it can support, but I don't think it will replace. Not in the generation which is physically traveling. That's my opinion. And yeah, what can we do to drive that through? I think we have touched that enough before in the questions. The safety protocol seems to be really an issue. So it's great that we get a safer world in regards to health. Why not? And from my perspective, I think the value of change will be more about connectivity, not only in the virtual world, but also connectivity in the natural world, being more connected to nature, being also more connected to our hearts, to our own being. So I guess maybe it's more philosophically instead of technically, but I think as we got disconnected so much in this time now, that we almost maybe learn how to be connected even better. So I think my hope is for self-connection, heart connection, nature connection. And out of this, there's a community coming on the planet, which is helping and supporting each other. I also think that we change a bit from competitive more to partnership. I hope so. So let's say communication and connectivity, virtual and real, will be a major shift in our whole society. At least hopefully. Yeah, what we can do as a little help with our product from Guiding Group, the tour guide system, as maybe most of you know, is to help in this reassurance way that the people are safe and that we take care about this. So you see here on the right side that the people can use their own smartphone as a tour guide system. And of course, they can stay more away from each other with the technology. So the new thing we did, I think, was to bring the smartphone into play as a receiver device, as you see here. So mainly the product which we did develop in the last years, also together with our major core and requesting customer scenic tours, is that we have a transmitter device for the guide, which you can see on the left side. Then we have a receiving application for the smartphone of the guests. So it's that simple, and it needs to be simple. And that's also running internationally on the ocean cruise already. But of course, we know no cruises are going on at the moment. But this is the composition of the product. And I think it also helps us to take a look on these two important parts. So safe and hygienic stuff, and also not to make them deal with a lot of problems. So it's just easy, use your phone and that's it. And on the other side, we of course looked also on the side of our business partners, of our company partners, that it's affordable. And therefore, we have some great fundings from the German Republic, where we can offer some risk-free and investment-free business models for our partners. So I think we are prepared to support the new way and also to give a safety feeling to the guests which are using it. Just a short brief overview. We not only do guiding tours in city with live guides, you can also do this in museums with pre-recorded audio commentaries as well as in cities. Okay, the tour guide system, and we have a special edition for all the river cruising, not only river cruising for weeks and along the rivers in Europe, also in the city river cruising for days. So we are actually with this product in all these three parts. This can also support, but I just wanted to tell you that there is something from Guiding Group and invite you to be part of this Guiding Group community, which is using the technology. And as Francesca said at the beginning, we are feeling ourselves as being a family. We are feeling ourselves as being brothers and sisters working together to support each other. And you are very welcome to be part of this kind of living. So thank you for listening, for this roughly getting through. And now we can come back to the great questions and answers from the great panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Orish. So actually, as I said, now it's time for the questions, and I have a lot of questions from you guys. So I'm afraid I will not be able to answer them all, but I will try to do my best. In the meantime, actually, I have a personal question for Lucas. I would like to know what's your feedback on the use of our technology, as we have a real case talking with us.
Okay. So do you want to have my answer?
Yeah. Honest.
Okay, the honest answer, it started a little bit like this webinar. So it's an excellent, I mean, despite of all the preparation, and we really did a lot with guiding group with Ulrich and I think Ulrich with you, and we developed a lot. And actually, we didn't test enough. We brought it out also due to our impatience, our own impatience that we wanted to be the first ones and wanted to have cutting edge technology on board the ship. So it's been sometimes a difficult start, but for guests that were technologically savvy, they loved it. They really loved it. So we had to learn that we cannot impose technology on people, on all the people that participate in our tours, because not all the people are the same. Not only are they not the same on in their technology level, not level of knowledge, but also some go on vacation and say, I want to go away from technology. I have enough when I'm in my very busy daily life, and when I'm on vacation, I want to have something different. So this is something we had to learn. So the technology was there for us, and we needed to use it because there was no other option, because we had all these great systems in one tool. We had an app for the guests, so they could have the guides talk to them. We had some commentary along the river, like when you are on an open roof bus in a city where the commentary comes. We had individual guide city tours, so that guests that didn't want to have a guided tour, or that wanted to go on their own pace into the city, they could do that, and they would have commentary. So all this in one tool. Great. But it required that all the people used it, and we realized that's maybe a little bit too much. So we force feeded our guests. So we now developed further together with the guiding group, and I think we are on a very good track, where we have given the opportunities, or we have developed tools and equipment that is for guests that only need one particular function of all these great tools that guiding group can offer. And this, I'm for sure, is a winner, because already the 2019 season, we could see guests that were familiar with dealing with apps, with downloading apps, they loved it. They really loved it. But we had, of course, overestimated the level of digitalization of our guests um, on our ships. Yeah.
Thank you.
What I can mention is we from my guides from the Danube Guides group, they had done the scenic tours to Salzburg and Český Krumlov. We also had a lot of yeah, functions in our group guiding devices. What I think we realized the same, that those guests who had who had been familiar with technology, they loved it, and the others had big problems or dealing with all the functions, and they just want to have fun functions. I think that will change in the future, because we now all know how to use all this connecting apps, and we are in also the elder generation is more into smartphone and tablets. That changed during the pandemic. So for me, in the future, is the standard is that we have technology which works, which have different options for those who want to just join a regular highlight tour, and for the others who want to have an individual tour. That all is the standard what we have in the future. More important is that the guides can handle these standard easily, that for them technology is not a mystery. Yeah? And then on top of that, we need a great experience. What the people really need after this pandemic is an experience, unique experiences, social experiences. In time of social distancing in the next year, we need social experiences where they can connect together, where they uh, have connections with the locals and so on. I think it will be a very special year, but it's a mixture between standard and technology and new experiences.
Thank you, Sebastian. If I may also add something. All right. I saw also on the chat that there were comments about using our technology, and the main one is that not everybody has a smartphone, or not everybody is used to use smartphones. And as Lucas and Sebastian already mentioned, of course, I mean, not everybody, especially the elderly people, maybe has a smartphone, even though honestly the percentage is really, really low. But always keep in mind that you have different options. For example, for those who doesn't have a smart box, they could be the ones staying near to the guide and hear the live voice of the guide. So it's something that, as Sebastian said and as Lucas said, will in the future, and for sure after COVID, as we saw, will be more and more easy for everybody, because we saw there was a digitalization. The people are more used to use technology, to download apps. Our app is really, really easy to use, to be honest. You just have to connect. But there will always be a percentage of people having troubles. But let's imagine a person probably will prefer to use his own smartphone than uh, an external device that has been passed from hand to hand. And it's exciting for those using technology. Honestly, is a very exciting tool. So that was my opinion to answer a few questions that I saw. Again, there are many. We received some questions in the question side, and I think my colleagues brilliantly answered them all. Then there were other questions in the chat. Maybe Ulrich, also, if you want to help me. Okay. Alina, for example, I think this was a question for Lucas, is asking, will you advise against of using the outside freelance guides?
No.
Or I have another one, will Scenic be paying the same rates for guides as pre-corona?
The first question, no, we will not advise against the use of freelance. So we have our contract partners, and we work with them. So if they use freelance or not, same thing. Rates, we probably will be working with the same suppliers and paying the same rates. We may negotiate the rates with the suppliers, but I cannot say in general yes or no, or it's going to be higher or it's going to be less. This is a question I would really have to pass on to my purchasing department. Obviously, you have to imagine that an organization like ours with 23 ships in 2020, we didn't run a single tour. So that has an impact. That has a heavy impact on a company. And no matter how good your business was in the previous years, this is not something very easy. And obviously, the outlook for 2021 is also impacting heavily. So it is natural that a company like ours, first of all, they look how to reduce the overhead costs in times like these, and then obviously also get in touch with the suppliers and see where we can help each other out, because I think we are in a situation like this together, and we come out of it together, and it's not one can take a huge profit out of something and another one couldn't. So we have to work together to get out of the situation. And that can potentially mean that in certain areas where we see difficulties that we have to renegotiate. But in general, I would say it remains the same, because our organization cycle is 2-3 years. Pricing is made, these things are already set in stone. 2022 was made in 2019. So we are now working in 2023. So we just have to adjust these things as the situation changes sometimes.
Ulrich, did you find any other questions that we need to answer? Did you check the chat?
So sorry to not have a look on the question. I was listening to the answers. But if you find one on which you want to pass to me, that's great.
Actually, there is a question from Florian, but I'm not so sure that I understand correctly. Is saying that if we use the guiding group app, we as guides have higher costs. So will the payment for us be higher too? I think that's a question for Lucas or Scenic, and so maybe Lucas, you can help me with this.
Not really. What is the higher cost? I think what we said, we would offer the guides to have their personal microphone, because that is one of the hygiene rules, so that they would have the opportunity to buy a microphone from guiding group, so that they would have their personal ones and we wouldn't have to give them out. But other than that, I don't see why there is higher cost for the guides using the technology. Yeah. So maybe I don't understand the question correctly.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know if Florian, you want to explain a little bit more. We still have a few seconds for the questions and answers.
Yeah, maybe I can just report on the question if it's more costing. And it's a replacement of the traditional systems, which are based on funk or radio waves, to the use of Wi-Fi. And as I showed before, we also looked on the business models that they are competitive, and at least the use of their own smartphone, it makes the whole system cheaper and not more expensive. So maybe it's right that what Lucas stated to the guides itself or to the guide organization, that everybody should have his microphone. And we are trying to create a box where you can also use your private phones, the private microphones. But anyhow, then sometimes different devices don't fit together. So a solid way is that everybody has the real fitting, of course, but it's just a microphone. Otherwise, the system itself, it's, let's say, better and cheaper.
For sure. All right. So I see also a comment from Alja. If at the end of the webinar, we will leave an email. So regarding costs, I don't want to go into costs now, because this webinar, we decided to concentrate more on technology and industry talk. So if you have any question about prices, don't worry, you can write us in private. So we have another question about from Danley. Shouldn't the companies provide the whispers to their guides? I understand that if you are freelance, you bring your equipment, but if you are working for a company, the company should provide. Generally speaking, I would say yes. It really depends on the company. I don't know if this question you are asking to Lucas or generally to all of us.
Yeah, if I understand that correctly, yes, we provide the whispers. So we provide to all our guests. We provide it to the local guides that pick up the guests from the ship. So we have these tools. The only thing we figured would be wise to do is that the guide has his own microphone for hygienic reason. Because if he hand that one out as well, that means that it is going through many hands in many different locations. So we see that as the only part that we have it, but we still recommend that the guides would have that themselves. So I think this is what we provide. Now, I don't know if for other companies, how that is with the Whisper system.
Exactly, depend, I guess, from the company, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas. Okay, I have started one of our last polls. Did you find our webinar interesting? So if you want to vote, I'm receiving votes now. And I can tell you already that I'm really pleased by the result. Thank you very much. So I will show. So we have 50% that gave us 5 stars. Thank you very much. And most of other people 4 stars. Now I would like to ask you, what part did you appreciate the most? If anybody wants to comment, to type an answer, so that we can learn for the future. If not, it's still good. I know that typing is something really difficult to ask to the audience. Usually nobody wants to type, but I think that's the case.
But maybe during this question session, I can add one information which I got from our, let's say, experienced technology world. We are also in technology development world, I mean. And then this is referring to Lucas, I guess, and also to all the other partners in the industry. I know that Boston Harvard somehow developed a new application, which is based on big data, and then you can just you just have to cough into the microphone of the smartphone of the application, and then immediately this sound is protocoled somewhere internally on the IT side, and then they say that with a 98% of being sure, they can tell if the people do have the virus inside or not. So even the testing could be done without the old test, which is kind of weird. But now you can just cough, and then you know if you have the virus inside. I think it's already available in development boards, and then maybe we can implement this in our application as soon as possible. So maybe the world of testing gets extremely easy to that in regards to that development. So I hope we can publish this very soon.
Amazing. So
I think that's one of the interesting things, that technology can help us, and that we guides or all the supplier in the tourism industry, we should be positive about the future. We should say technology supports us. Technology will not reduce my jobs or will delete my job. It can help me, and I have to be we all work together. And I think it's so important for the future to be positive to the guests and to say everybody tries its best, everybody to try to follow hygienic protocols, that we all help together, that there is some spirit outside, that travel is safe, that we have the experience, that they should come. I think that's the most important thing to send out to the world. Please travel again and be happy when you travel.
Yes.
All right. So if anybody has anything to agree, if not, I think we are already 1 hour and a half. So I think I will release our participants. Thank you very much for participating to this webinar. I also you can find us on the social online community, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. We are going to post a few outputs of this webinar on the following days, so please follow us. And for those who could not participate, they will or want to see again this webinar, we'll have a link. We'll receive a link by email where they can see the webinar again. Here you can find our contacts, the phone, an email if you want any additional information. And again, Ulrich, if you want to add something, if not, personally, I would like to thank you again for the participation and see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much to everybody out there on the globe. And let's, stay healthy and connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day, all.